Dr. Culber reminisces about the 10C planet. President Rillick gets ghosted by Primarch Tahal. And Book is making oil bath plants with a Breen soldier. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Cirroc and I are having an oil bath. Was it Wednesday? I think it's next Wednesday. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Today we're doing a review of Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 9, the penultimate episode in the series. Episode is entitled, some would call it Lagrange Point. Written by Sean Cochran and Ari Friedman. Directed by Jonathan Frakes. We have a very special guest today, everybody. Her name is Ari Friedman. Hello, Ari. How are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So good having you.
Glad to have you. Great episode, too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's just get into it then, shall we? So, first things first, what's your story? How'd you get into this? How'd you get into working on Star Trek Discovery? And how did you get into writing this episode?
Yeah, so I'm actually a comedy writer. I don't know if you could tell from this episode. It's a little more comedy than normal. Me and Sean both have comedy in us. So it was a bit of a surprise to find myself working for Michelle Paradise, end of season 3. But I was really game and excited to hop aboard such an amazing franchise. So I started as Michelle's assistant, the showrunner of the show. And I kind of rose the ranks through up until season 5. And before I started writing the episode, I was the writer's assistant. And then there was a freelance episode. Michelle is great with support staff. So she promoted 2 previous support staff to staff writer before me, and gives us every season a lot of opportunities to be more involved than just your typical support staff. So there was an open episode, an open slot, and I submitted a script and was chosen to co-write the episode with Sean Cochran.
Wow.
So that's how I found myself writing this episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this the episode, the script that you submitted, is this the episode, or is that was just like a spec script for just showcasing your talent?
It was a spec script. Anyone who wanted was able to submit. So yeah, we just submitted spec scripts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody at home that might not know what that is, that's just like a writer they write a theoretical script to an episode. Like for example, I could write a spec script for Deep Space Nine. It would be terrible, but I know the characters enough to where I could be like, okay, it opens on Odo and Quark harumphing at each other, and then red alert, or whatever, you get it. So she did that, and it was very good. And they said, you know what, you should write or co-write episode 509. By the way, Michelle Paradise seems pretty funny herself. You guys have a lot of banter between each other?
She's so funny. Oh my God. She just would always come to the room with, yeah, she's hilarious. There were a bunch of really funny people in this room, actually, which is, I know it's probably surprising, but it was actually like a fun, funny room. We're all like family at this point, because a lot of people stayed throughout a lot of seasons. A bunch of them are coming to my house later tonight for a watch party. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
Kudos to Michelle Paradise. We've heard a lot of good things about her and her leadership skills. I think that, giving opportunities to people is a great thing. And when you see that, there's advancement and opportunities for moving up, that's just great that she's able to see that in people. And clearly you delivered on your end, because I think this episode really hits a lot of notes that I like about this show, which is the love story between Book and Burnham.
Yeah.
And I thought that you really wrote the scene well, and was also performed well, where Burnham comes out and kind of opens up the Book about what she's seen inside of the maze or the mindscape. I enjoyed that scene a lot.
Yeah. We wanted to make sure that I was looking back at my notes and we were calling it their heatness. I don't know why we called it that. Was portrayed and moved forward, because okay, I can't talk about 510. But yeah, we wanted to make sure that
It's
it
just
was
us.
Yeah. No,
all right,
not yet.
that's
Not
exactly
yet.
what
No
happened.
spoiler.
No, we wanted to make sure that there was a moment for them to really air things out. Yeah, Burnham had realized a lot in 508. The subconscious had really become conscious for her, and we were like, let's try and figure out a space where they can, whilst heisting, talk about their feelings and just like air things out. So I think they did a really good job as well.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that. Like if you had mapped out, okay, in 508, Burnham has to have the realization. That means in 509, she has to reveal it to Book, if it was already kind of preordained, or if, once you're getting to 509, you're thinking, you know what, we should really hit it home here. I feel like it's a natural place for, for her and Book to kind of reconnect there, because presumably 510,
yeah.
It's when everything the series, but back then it was just the season, it closes out. So we're assuming those arcs were already meant to be closed. Can you talk a little bit about when you start a season, how you start mapping out the relationships, how you start mapping out the character arcs for the season? How does that work?
It's different on every show. And I've worked the longest with Michelle, but in her rooms, she's so thorough and she's so character heart first, which I love. And we, from day one, were mapping out every character, including everyone on the bridge, everyone's character arcs. And yeah, we have it beaten out generally for every episode pretty early on. So we didn't necessarily know exactly what Book and Burnham were going to say to each other in 509, or even if they would have this specific moment, but we knew generally where it was going pretty early on in the season. And the other thing too is that at the beginning of every season, Michelle would she would give every writer and also support staff a character to kind of like have as their baby, to make sure that they're being seen and taken care of in every episode, and to kind of make sure that their arc is like not being lost throughout the season. Yeah.
I want to ask you, the legendary Jonathan Frakes, who's like probably, the one of the greatest directors of Star Trek ever, is directing this episode. And you did mention being on the set. I wanted to ask you what that was like, seeing your work actually on the set, because not that many writers are actually present while the filming is happening. Can you talk a little bit about him as a director and what you were experiencing on the set?
Yeah, so first of all, I feel so lucky that I was able to go up. Michelle really graciously let me go up and watch the episode get made. And then Frakes was a doll from moment one. Just like pulled me in and was like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Raven Metzner, who is one of the higher level writers on our show, was also there. So it was my first time on a set as a writer, and as a writer of the episode that I was watching. So Raven was like such an amazing mentor, and between him and Jonathan, it was such a special experience. Oh my God. I've been on a few different sets before for TV and film, and his style is so just like magnetic and charming and high energy, and he's just, nothing phases him really. He's just like, let's do this. He's just such a seasoned pro. So I was so excited when he was assigned to the episode. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go. Yeah, and he was just amazing. Yeah, and he has no ego. either. I mean, he was truly like, Ari, what do you think about this and that? And yeah, it was just great. It was amazing.
So here's a question for you, because we're going to talk about Jonathan Frakes a lot more in our other segment later as well, because we love that dude. But this was the second to last episode of the season. You didn't know at the time that this was going to be the end of the show, but you did know it was going to be the end of the season, which means you're not going to see each other for a while, or maybe there's going to be some staff changes, or maybe there was a little uncertainty where you never know. You think you're going to be renewed, but you never know for sure. Can you tell us what the mood is like when you're filming 509, when you're finishing out 509? Is it sad? Is it joyous? Are you getting senioritis? What's it feel like?
I think for Discovery, we were split. Some people were like, we're not going to make it another season. And they were really kind of just had a feeling. And I was among the people who was like, no, we're going to have another season. Because, I was Michelle's assistant for a couple of years, and I was privy to those conversations where it was just like, for so many years, Discovery was just such a staple, for CBS and Paramount Plus. So it kind of felt like, no, surely they'll give us a 6th and final season to wrap things up, because this is, just the end of this chapter. And, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So I think, it was out of our hands too. I mean, there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and there's so many amazing other Trek shows now. So it makes sense looking back. But one of the things too that we felt as a room was like, we were like, we'll figure out where to go from here. But like, this feels a bit like a final season when we were writing it. It felt like a lot of the characters were being fully realized. And they were hitting places that we felt like, this feels like a solid ending. So we didn't feel, and you'll have your thoughts after watching 510, but we didn't feel like, it's a bummer that we weren't able to like close some things up. Like some shows are just canceled when they're in the middle of like a huge cliffhanger or whatever, it just, we were able to wrap things up really nicely. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I do think that.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I muted myself. I was just going to say, Cirroc, I know you got a lot more to ask, but I just wanted to jump on that because, 509, it's a really good episode. It's really fun. And it's when I noticed, like you were saying, that it kind of does feel like some of these characters have arcs that are completing, not that are just improving or changing. And then there's going to be more. Like I saw it mostly with Saru and Tarina. I was almost like, where do they go after this? They could close the door here. Adira is having growth. Culber and Stamets are having growth as found parents. There's a lot of that, and then Book and Burnham as they're coming back together. It just felt like this could
even Tilly and Ray and Rainer.
Yes, right, totally.
They even had a growth moment there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Reese, even Reese. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was saying even Commander Reese. We
enjoyed that. That's why we're kind of heaping praises on you, because we like to see a lot of the characters get their kind of moments, and I felt like this episode covered that. Like I got moments from people that characters that are sometimes always not even recognized. They're just like, hey, I need more power, and you're like, okay, I'll give you more power, Captain. But there's not like any further follow up on what they think or feel, or and so I did feel like there was a lot of that in this episode.
Yes, we wanted to take care of those characters. I mean, I love those characters as well, and I think that it adds. Ultimately, it's Michelle's vision, but I definitely wanted there to be as much, and Sean as well, as many little moments like that as possible. And when we were thinking, okay, who would go on the mission, it was all on purpose. we wanted them to have moments.
Yeah, Adira stepped up big on that. I was like, whoa, Adira's going on the mission. This was kind of a big deal. Let me ask you, because you mentioned earlier about some stuff not making it in the episode, and it felt like there could have been a lot of things that maybe didn't get featured or could have made the cutting room floor. Is there some stuff that was like you wanted more of, or you wish was kind of left in it?
Well, there were just different iterations of the heist. There were a bunch of we talked about that a lot. We were really, it was giving Ocean's 11. We were really trying to wanted to have as much fun as possible. So, but ultimately, we're trying, it's always the balance of like writing the best episode for the budget you have and in the bigger season and but let me see, I was looking at my notes. Okay, well there were a few different moments. I mean, there were literally a few lines that I was like, God damn it. But I get it why they took it out. Because me and Sean, the draft we turned in had a few more jokes per capita than what made it, which like would have been too outside of Discovery's sphere for the season. So it totally makes sense that it was like stripped down, and I think it ended up perfect. But we were poking fun at Book being like in the suit, like we could start a band with these, call ourselves the Metalheads. Didn't make it in.
Ryan would have loved that.
Yeah, Ryan does love that. Yeah.
And there were a bunch of things actually, for the most part, there like the major, strokes of the episode were kind of like what we came up with at the beginning of planning it. So, Discovery crashing in to the Breen ship, that was meant to be a big set piece. One thing that didn't make it in, I think, that I would have loved to see, but that they still flawlessly figured it out, was we were like, and then Burnham and Maul jump out and they're in space and it's slow motion and like they're around the progenitor tech and and then they're fighting each other and then they're climbing on top of each other and then it opens and they get sucked in. And that didn't make it.
I could picture it. I could definitely picture that though.
Yeah.
That feels very Discovery.
It could have been a really fun moment. But yeah, that's obviously more VFX than we could afford.
I was still tripping when I saw Burnham go inside of the thing. I was like, what are you doing? You are always
taking things
she's like too far. Yeah, like what's wrong with you?
Too far.
You're taking things always got to go like to that next step.
Yeah.
And she kind of looks back like, it's that like kind of hand in the cookie jar moment where it's like, I know I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, but see ya.
Yeah.
Loved how she played that too.
Yeah, in that moment, actually, we talked about that moment a lot, because that is also my favorite part of the series, is like the connections that the characters have with each other. And we really wanted to make sure, even though we had that conversation with them earlier, it was meant to be like, they kind of aired some stuff out, kind of a walk and talk, which they ended up, going into a corner and pausing. But, they're walking and talking, airing some things out, don't fully finish what they're meant to say to each other. And then it's all summed up in that look when Burnham looks at Book and that, and she's saying, I love you, I'm sorry, I wish this were different, and she goes and he's like, yeah. But ultimately he lets her go. He doesn't really have a choice, but yeah, I loved that moment so much. We talked about it a lot. We wanted to make sure that they had this like moment where words really weren't necessary.
Well, Ari, I'm about to put you on the spot, if that's okay. Do you have a favorite character to write for? Is there, like sometimes you're just like, okay, I love writing for Rayner because I feel like he's the new guy, or I love writing for, Book because he's like Han Solo, or what do you have? Is there somebody you really enjoy?
Yes, Tilly. Tilly's my favorite.
Yeah, because she's got the comedy thing, and you get to do the jokes.
She's so like, Mary's just like such an amazing actress, and yeah, just like coming up with how she's going to be and what she's going to do for the season felt really, it was just like always really exciting and feeling exactly like you said. I mean, it's the comedy for me. And I'm like, she can break any tension in any scene, you know? But then also like one thing that I loved that I saw someone wrote about this episode was like, you know, Tilly sometimes is bumbling and sputtering and, you know, it doesn't let her shine her full potential. But in this episode, she's bumbling and sputtering because her brain is going too fast because she's literally like computing on the spot. So she's not just all funny. She's also really smart. And, and like, subtly helped Rainer sit in the chair at the end, you know, like gave him that little push, which is also a moment we were so excited for and was potentially not going to be at the end of 509. It was going to be maybe 510. And we were like, please, like, let us have it. Yeah. So long answer short, Tilly.
Yeah, this episode, she had a moment there where Rainer says to her, "I want you to be my number one," and she's like, she's like, "Thank you very good." And she kind of hold it. It was such a good delivery. I thought, wow, this is so good. She knows how to like pull it back when she realizes, oh, I'm doing too much right now in character. You know what I mean? So it's so good as a performer to watch her.
Right. And who wrote
play those awkward beats?
Who wrote Schnoodle?
Holy Schnoodle. Yeah, I wrote that down in my notes.
Oh, I think that might have been Michelle. That's a Michelle special. Well, my version was holy shit. It was truly
okay.
It was holy shit, then it was holy and then Rainer barrels in. And then it was holy Schnoodle.
I gotta say, I thought that was my favorite moment because of the actors. The two actors there really made, like, this was the first time I saw Rainer feeling confident and comfortable since the first episode. When he did this move and he goes, "That's the plan." He does the point, "That's the plan." I was like, that's good. That was a good choice. It's well written, well executed. He says, "That's the plan." And then Mary says, "Holy, Schnoodle," whatever. I was like, that is a great double moment there. Well executed. The actors were amazing, well written. So good stuff there. However,
yes, I also love Rainer.
Yeah, I was just going to point out Rainer. But what were you saying, Cirroc?
I was going to say one of my favorite lines. I think Stamets also delivered the way he said "math doesn't lie." Mm-hmm. I thought was like one of his like classic moments, almost like a T-shirt for Stamets moment.
Oh yeah, someone needs to make that merch.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the way he says it is like math doesn't lie. It was wonderful. I want to coin a word, and I want you to be here when I do it. Ari, this is for this episode.
Okay, great.
When I saw Saru step up in that moment and offer to basically kill himself, essentially, it looked like a bad mission. I said, "This is a Saruicide mission," and I don't know if you dropped that in the in the writers' room, but I was like, "What the hell's going on here? This is a Saruicide mission," and it almost yes.
No, I was just gonna say that that was actually the title of the episode, but Michelle changed it at the last minute.
No,
holy shit! No way! No.
It was a tough choice. I thought it was going to be the Kobayashi Saru. Was what I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was a great moment there, and almost it was payoff from an earlier moment that we had with Saru, and that was when he was kind of butting into her business a little bit, and she kind of checked him and is like, "Yo, I make my own decisions, and I don't need your to step in the way and be meddling." And I felt like this was like payoff for that moment too, because now Saru is like saying that back almost in a way, like, That's my ship. These are my guys, and I'm going to do this no matter what you say.
Yeah, yeah. And that's exactly what we were going for. And but also their union at the end of the episode I felt was really nice, because there were a few different ways we were thinking of playing it. We had Saru making that decision, because we always felt like, okay, Saru's gonna need to, we also just, we needed him to be there. But we wanted him to make that choice, and we wanted that callback from the beginning. And we were like, would Tarina be like really upset and try to stop him from going? But Michelle ultimately like finessed it, so it was kind of a reveal when she was like, no, I knew that you what was it, that you had to go, and I never want you to make choices on, like, just the callback of like, I never want you to make choices on my behalf, which is actually, it works really well in the story, but it's funny given like in actual present day right now in reality. It's just funny, someone being like, no, I choose work over our relationship. and the audience going, exactly. But
yeah.
for the show.
Well, it works because he has a connection with everybody on board, and
Yeah.
he's thinking about the lives of everybody on that ship. So he's being really selfless in that moment. He's actually putting other people in front of himself, which is what I kind of would think Saru would always be doing in general.
Yeah, they're all really selfless, and it's just like the most important work in the galaxy. So had to do what he had to do. Trina's blessing.
Barely her blessing. But she did. She understood. She kind of scolded him in a Vulcan way, but she was also very sweet in a Vulcan way when she said, it would be illogical to ask you to promise to return. So instead, I'll just ask that you try.
Yeah. Beautiful line. That's Michelle as well. That line is perfect. And also the actress,
Tara Rosling. She's amazing.
Yes. We love her. She's amazing. She can just convey so much with a single look. So we knew she'd kill it.
She's magical.
I also love the villain in this season. The girl playing Maul, I think, is fantastic as well. She's just a great villain, and kind of like not even that much of a villain where you want her killed. You just want her to just shake some sense into her, like, you're on the wrong side.
Yes,
like,
yes.
I get you. I get it. Yeah, like I get it. I get what you're going to, but you're like, it's like you're gonna destroy the world. These guys that you're with, the Breen, are not like good people. Like, stop trying to sign up with them. They're not going to help you out. Maybe the one that you found, but you found one good guy out of, like, I don't know how big the Breen are, but I feel like after we saw that, after we saw that vision of the future, we're like, come on, just have some sense. But
they're all good. You're seeing them. Yeah.
They're just gooey anyway. Well, Ari, we only have you for a couple more minutes here. But before we go, first of all, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. This has been really cool. But also, now that we know that Discovery is over, can you please, give us a little reflection on the time that you spent with Discovery, things that you loved, the things that maybe you won't miss, maybe you guys had some late nights. Give us a little bit of introspection about Discovery and how much you think we're going to love next week's final episode.
Oh man, some of the best years of my life. Seriously, I will very much miss, and have missed, because we finished in late 2022. Working with the writers of each season. Many of them stay the same. Some of them were there for a season or two. We just had a really great dynamic. I think, I was also able to see, once the writers left, working with Michelle, it's crazy. She's running so many different things. She's running the room, she's running pre-production, production, post-production, all at the same time, sometimes seasons overlapping. Maybe that's what I won't miss, is that there was never not something going on. But at the same time, it was what made it really fun and exciting. And in terms of next week, oh my God, it's such an incredible episode. I'm excited for you guys. And it's a great farewell. And yeah, I have no doubt that people will really like it. Really like it.
Yeah. I can feel some tears coming on already.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen it, but I just can anticipate it based on what I feel everything going. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great ride though, watching you guys take this show and be the flagship for Paramount Plus and, really guide them in their journey onto the online platform. So that job was actually successful.
Yeah.
Well, Ari,
It was a success.
We did it, and we do really appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Lots of fun, and we will follow your career with great interest. I think that's a Star Wars quote, whatever.
One thing I will say is I used to always be like, I would just be like, may the force be with you. And people would be horrified. I would just
they need to relax. It's fun. Star Wars is also fun.
Yeah, you have to do this when you say it, though.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I mean, I would say to people like, yeah, I work on Star Trek. May the force be with you.
Nanu, like, Nanu. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, everybody stick around. We will be right back with a lot more to talk about on this episode on The Seventh Rule. Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. You are gonna love them. Saru brings Tarina flowers from Elpana. I don't know. The 5 remaining Primarchs smell blood in the water. Dr. Culber reminisces about the 10C planet. Shout out to Dr. Muhammad Noor for his help with the 10C. Commander Raynor avoids the captain's chair like the plague. President Rilak's first name is Lara. President Rilak gets ghosted by Primarch Tahal. And Book is making oil bath plans with the Breen soldier.
Oil bath, Sark mates.
Yeah, that's right. Sark mates. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's fun that there are 5 Primarchs left. And they are now basically, it's like Game of Thrones. It's like the king is dead, and now the 5 princes or smaller kings are like, all right, who's the new one in charge? And apparently Primarch Tahal is the front runner. And it's really cool. I'm having a lot of fun watching the Breen. A lot of times I can be kind of grumpy and be like, this alien race doesn't do that. I remember in Next Generation, whatever. I get into those kind of fussy-duddy things, but I really like how they are expanding the Breen. I'm very happy with it. What do you think?
I'll tell you what. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I guess I was expecting something that I didn't get when it comes to the Breen. And this is what it was. I was expecting the Breen to honor their marriage or love for each other in such a way that they would basically make her like some kind of empress, of their situation. So it's still like there's a power struggle there where, she's not in charge, but she's kind of in charge. And it's weird for me because I would have liked that to have been explained away in a way that gave her more dominion over that role. So she has this kind of, I've got the Breen under my control. It seems like she's slightly not in control / in control. And that's where it's a gray area for me to kind of like fully identify. I would have liked if Locke and Maul had have done some kind of green ritual ceremony of union that is honored on the degree of marriage that made her eligible to be the heir of the Breen Empire. And I would have liked that to have transpired to give an air of legitimacy to her reign over the Breen. And that would have made a little bit more sense for me.
Yeah, because they do talk about it. They discuss it a little bit, but we never saw that happen. So we don't have that kind of backstory. That it's almost like emotional backstory where we get to follow in their emotional arc. And for all we know, right now, there's writers going, "We wrote that in, but it got cut out. It was in episode 3, bro." I guess they did kind of. I mean, it showed some of the love story in flashbacks, actually. But yeah, we never
showed the
got
love
to.
story, but
But we
they
didn't
don't
see
show
that
that there's a union, like there's an
Good
actual
point.
marriage, like they're
Mhm.
married, like a ring on the finger or a tribal tattoo or some ceremonious thing.
They did have a tattoo together. Yeah, kind of, or
Yeah.
something. What was it? I don't remember.
I would have liked that to have been the justification, like, she's the wife of our guy, and therefore, she gets a chance to be on the throne until she
Mhm.
proves otherwise. Some kind
Mhm.
of, 30-day, 30-day or your money back guarantee, Breen guarantee for her to be in charge. Because the vacuum of the fighting amongst them is good, but it seems like she's calling the shots, right? Like at the
Mhm.
end, she's like, "Shut shit down, shut it down." I want everybody's identification. So she's like calling shots, like she's Darth Vader or something.
Nice.
But in a couple of episodes before, it was like she was getting, kind of bullied by the
Mhm.
other head Breen who was around. So I'm just saying I would have liked that to have been clarified a little bit more and the respect given to her because she's almost taking that respect. So it might as well have been forfeited to her.
Mhm. I like that 30-day guarantee idea. If you don't like your lock, go ahead and bring him back to the store for a refund. But here's yeah, because I'm loving the Breen stuff, and I'm happy if they want to show us more Breen, more Locke and Maul,
Yeah,
I'm happy with it. Um,
yeah.
so here's something. The episode opens first thing. Shh, right? Cameras twisting on a Ferengi talking to some other guy. And my first thought was, whoa, who's directing this? And then it says Jonathan Frakes. I'm like, I should have guessed that. I should, because
Yeah.
he does like to do, he also likes to do the camera that goes, we're watching them walk upside down and then they walk and then we
Yeah.
follow them. Like he does fun. He has way too much fun. It's supposed to be work, but he's out there having too much fun and I'm loving it. You love yourself a little Frakes, right?
Yeah, no, I love Frakes. I think he's, his reign has covered so much Star Trek that it's, undeniable that he is, on the Mount Rushmore of Star Trek directors. Um, like I said, covering so many different series, so many different episodes, so many different actors that he's worked alongside, and he's given us a lot of memorable moments. So I think, yeah, you have to give him his flowers and say that he is one of, if not the most prolific Star Trek director um, of our time. Also including the motion picture that he directed. So I mean,
Yeah.
you have to
First
basically,
Contact and Generations.
yeah. So he's just the gold standard. And it doesn't matter whether it's a feature film or what series it is. He always brings uh, element of um, playfulness, of inclusion, We just talked with Ari Friedman about her experience on the set and how he made her feel, included and kind of, brought her in. I think that's what he does. And that's what you feel when you're around him. There's this energy of inclusion and a bigness to his personality that is infectious and kind of makes you smile and makes you passionate because he exudes a certain passion for the work that he does. So yeah, once I saw it was a Jonathan Frakes episode, I already kind of like, I poured a bowl of popcorn and said, "Let me sit back and enjoy."
Yeah, totally. You said something among many interesting things. One in specific, which was the Mount Rushmore of directors of Star Trek. My question to all the fans out there: who is your Star Trek director's Mount Rushmore? And I could hear about 60 Star Trek fans all groaning at that question, like, oh, it's too hard. Don't ask me that. There are people like David Livingston. I think Olatunde, what's his last name? Osunsanmi, something like that. I feel like he's quickly making a case for himself in the Mount Rushmore. He's all over the place in Strange New Worlds and Discovery and maybe Picard too. I don't know. I feel like he's everywhere. He's done a whole bunch. Anyway, so everybody in the comments below, who is your Mount Rushmore of directors? That's 4 directors, everybody. The 4 horsemen, horse people. Anyway, so 2 black holes. Commander Jemison, did you catch that? We had a new character flying the ship.
Yeah, who was that?
Just a new character, new actress who is first coming on for this episode. Her name is Commander Jemison, obviously named after. Yes, I thought that was. I was like, Discovery knows we're not going to miss that. Discovery knows we're going to catch it, but pretty cool. I love that. Good homage.
A Stanford alumni, I might add.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you, kind of.
Yeah, right.
Teaching there.
Adjacent. I'm Stanford adjacent, but certainly, I saw that. But I also wanted to ask you about. Was it a Gallo? Is that the alien that I saw that had the weird like?
Yeah. So Gallo Gallo is a new character, Lieutenant Gallo. This season, she's also in the front of the bridge, whether at like at the con or something like that. She kind of have the dark, short, kind of mid-length hair. The alien that you saw shaking around, not Linus, right? Not the Saurian,
not Linus, the other
one with just all kinds of messy. Yeah, that is an Osnolus.
Jesus.
I think that might be played by Ava Blackwell.
Is that from Australia?
Right?
No,
I think it's Ava Blackwell who plays her. Let me check and make sure, because sometimes I get
that makeup job is ridiculous. I wish it got more of a close up in there. I was like, hey, Jonathan Frakes, give me some close ups.
It is Ava Blackwell. She also has done stunts in a bunch of episodes of Strange New Worlds. So she is multi-talented, kind of like a female version of Saru. She's also played Lieutenant Ina, so we have seen her face, and Captain Rama. Can't remember what that was, but that was an alien. Anyway, so that's an Osnolus. Here's an interesting fact. I believe this is a fact. That alien race, that mask, that makeup was what Doug Jones's Saru was originally going to look like.
No.
But they ended up going with this other look, and so now they still use that, I guess, and called it the Osnolus. Anyway, pretty cool. Also, here's something I'd like to point out. Our good friend Andre Kottman. We used to do the Discovery viewing parties together at his place out in Glendale. Well, check this out. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh, man, that's not going to work. Well, it's going to take a second then. So here it is. They pull up a star chart in the episode, and Andre Kottman caught this. And he says, what's going on here? Andoria is back in Starfleet. Orion looks like it's now a member of the Federation. Is this correct? Like, do the stars tell us the planets that are part of the Federation? Because if so, I think Andoria was not part of the Federation for a while there, and now it is. And Orion was never part of the Federation, but of course we did see that one Orion character last season that was one of the cadets that Tilly was teaching. So anyway, so that's kind of an interesting, great catch by Andre Kottman.
Wow. You got to freeze frame that to find that. You really got to zoom in on that. That was a great catch, Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as they show stars, you know Andre's going to pause that shit and zoom in. He will every time.
Yeah, no, I missed that, but I did also I saw the moment there. I thought was a cool little bit of technology. I always like the little miniature technology moments, but when Maul basically puts Locke inside of that bracelet cuff link or whatever that is, I'm like, how does that work? You know what I mean? I called that one Lock in the Box, but you know that's. I wondered how she did that. What was the technology behind that? Because it kind of folded him up and put him inside of this little locket.
Mm-hmm. It was just a small lock, right? Anyway, so look, the point is here, we only got a couple minutes left, but we had a non-appearance mention for Admiral Vance. We had a non-appearance mention kind of for Locke. Poor guy. He's going to keep getting non-appearance mentions. Poor guy, unless he gets revived in the final episode. Who knows? Hopefully, shout out to our good friend Elias Tufexis. So before we go, though, who gets the home run of the day, Cirroc?
Home run of this episode. Yeah, I want to say I did like Raynor a lot in this episode. I thought he's starting to become likable. He's just crossing the threshold over from dislike to like, which I like about it because he's putting the effort to want to be liked or to try to get along. And that's all you have to really do. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one positive takeaway. I really liked his performance. And forgive me if I don't know the actor who plays Commander Raynor, but he's doing a great job.
Callum Keith Rennie, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, he's doing a great job. I really liked him in this episode. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to give the home run to Jonathan Frakes.
Hey!
In the house.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I should have taken this time while you were doing that to think of mine, but instead I was just kind of listening to you, like you were telling a story. I was like, this is nice. I just like listening to him talk sometimes. It's nice. Home run of the episode for me. It's got to be both Doug Jones and Tara Rosling, because those two can act the out of this show. I mean, my God, when Doug said, what was the line that he said? Sorry, let me find it really quickly. Okay, I don't think I wrote it down, but when she said it would be illogical to ask you to promise to return, so instead I'll just ask that you try. And he basically said, I will see you again when I return. And just that little inflection on when. And I was like, only Doug Jones can say that in such a thoughtful and tender way, like this single syllable. And it just works. It says everything. Maybe it was italicized in the script. Who knows? But Doug knocked it out of the park. He's amazing. Yeah. And Tara Rosling is amazing in the way she can convey so much through a stoic face, kind of like Data, kind of like Brent Spiner. Beautiful. She is a beautiful, beautiful actress. So I say those two. All right. But here are some other people that are no strangers to home runs themselves. A couple of them triples. Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom TJ, Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Muller, Dr. Muhammad Noor, ground rule double, Tierney C. Diekman, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz. My Life from Tokyo has been known to hit an infield home run. It's really weird. Inside the park home run that stayed in the infield. The Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manisfee, Greg K. Wickstrom out in Hawaii, doesn't even know what baseball is probably. Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan B. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Chuck A., Joanna Yunker, Amiram Mizne, Nora Vega, Ed Jarrett, Steve Case, and of course, Jason M. Okun, who hates when we talk about sports. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. It's been a great time. We cannot wait for this final episode. I can't believe it's the final episode, but
yeah, I can't believe it either. It's here.
It doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's getting sad.
Mm-hmm. It is. Especially because they put in so much of their heart and soul into this. A really good group of people. All right. Yeah. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us, everybody. Let us know in the comments below your Mount Rushmore of Star Trek directors, and we will see you next time. Until then, always remember the 7th rule.